What if some of the moments you've been quietly dismissing, waking at 3 a.m. for no reason, an unexplainable wave of calm, a dream that felt too real, weren't random at all? Not because you're imagining things, but because nobody ever taught you what to actually look for. Today, we're looking at 5 signs that show up throughout Scripture as moments of being watched over, and the real psychology behind why these exact experiences happen the way they do. Most of us are trained to explain away anything unusual with the nearest logical label: bad sleep, coincidence, stress, and often that instinct is reasonable. But it also means we rarely pause long enough to sit with these moments and ask what they might actually mean, spiritually or otherwise. Scripture consistently shows these kinds of ordinary, easy-to-miss moments as places where something significant was happening, not just dramatic, obvious encounters. Let's walk through 5 of them. 1. Waking at an odd hour with no clear reason. No alarm, nothing woke you externally, but suddenly you're wide awake at 2 or 3 a.m., alert, unable to fall back asleep immediately. Most people just roll over, but in 1 Kings 19 verse 5, an angel physically touches Elijah while he sleeps and tells him, "Arise and eat." Not a dream, a literal waking. There's also a real sleep science explanation worth knowing. Sleep naturally occurs in roughly 90-minute cycles, and brief wakings between cycles are completely normal, often forgotten by morning. What's notable isn't that the waking happens, it's what you do with it when it does. Scripture consistently frames these quiet, unexplained wakings as moments worth paying attention to, rather than something to immediately sleep through. 2. A sudden, unexplainable wave of peace. You're stressed, your mind is racing, nothing about your circumstances has changed, and then a genuine calm settles over you, seemingly from nowhere. Philippians 4 verse 7 describes this precisely as the peace of God, which passeth all understanding. When the angel appears to Mary in Luke chapter 1, her entire life has just been upended, and the very first words spoken are, "Fear not." Peace offered before any explanation follows. Physiologically, sudden calm like this is often associated with a shift in the body's parasympathetic nervous system, sometimes called the rest and digest response, which can occur even while external stressors remain unchanged. Whether the trigger is physiological, spiritual, or both, the pattern in Scripture is consistent. Peace is frequently described as arriving before the situation is resolved, not after. 3. A close call you can't fully explain. A near-miss accident, a wrong turn you almost took but didn't, a decision to avoid a certain route that turned out to matter. Psalm chapter 91 verse 11 to 12 describes this directly. "He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone." There's also a psychological angle worth naming. The brain is constantly processing subtle environmental cues below conscious awareness, sometimes producing a gut feeling to avoid something before there's a clear reason why. Some near misses may be explained this way. Scripture simply adds another layer worth considering, that some of what feels like a narrow escape may be exactly what it feels like: protection. 4. A stranger says exactly what you needed to hear. An unfamiliar person, in a store, online, in passing, says something that lands with a specificity that feels too precise to be accidental. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 2 addresses this directly. "Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares." There's a recognized psychological phenomenon here too, sometimes discussed under the umbrella of meaningful coincidence. Our minds are highly tuned to notice information that resonates emotionally, especially when we're in need of encouragement. That doesn't make the moment less meaningful. If anything, Scripture suggests these ordinary encounters may carry more weight than we assume, not less. 5. A dream that felt more than ordinary. You wake with your heart pounding, the details still sharp hours later, an unmistakable sense that this dream was different. Scripture takes this seriously. In Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, an angel warns Joseph in a dream to flee to Egypt, a warning that directly protects Jesus' life. In Genesis chapter 28, Jacob dreams of angels ascending and descending, waking to say, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not." Sleep science also confirms that dreams during REM sleep, the stage most associated with vivid, memorable dreaming, can feel intensely real and emotionally charged, more so than dreams from other sleep stages. Not every vivid dream carries deeper meaning, and Scripture doesn't claim that either, but it does model taking certain dreams seriously enough to reflect on, rather than dismissing all of them by default. None of this means every unusual moment is a supernatural sign, and it doesn't need to be treated that way to still be meaningful. Sleep cycles, the nervous system, and subconscious pattern recognition are all real, well-documented processes, and Scripture doesn't ask you to ignore that in order to also believe something more is happening. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 14 asks directly, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" Sent to serve you specifically. Whether every explainable moment carries additional meaning is between you and God, but Scripture consistently invites us to stay attentive to the ordinary, rather than assuming meaning only shows up in the dramatic. Here's how to hold this practically. 1. The next time you wake at an odd hour, pray instead of reaching for your phone. Treat it as a possible invitation to attention, not just an inconvenience. 2. When unexplainable peace arrives, receive it rather than question it away. You don't need to fully explain a moment for it to be real. 3. Take note of close calls instead of brushing them off as luck. A brief moment of gratitude costs nothing and may shift how you notice these moments going forward. 4. Write down dreams that feel unusually vivid. You don't have to interpret every detail immediately, but a record gives you something to reflect and pray over later. You may not always see what's working on your behalf, but Scripture consistently suggests you're not walking through any of this alone. If this reframed something you've experienced recently, drop a comment. I've noticed this too. And if someone in your life needs this reminder today, share it with them. Subscribe to Grace to Grow. Every week we explore one mind and one Scripture at a time. Let's grow together.